Hi, this is Marie, and I am so happy to have you join me today. I have a special request by Lindsay to use Inktense to color hair. I stamped my image actually using Memento because the bulk of my image is Copic, but normally with a watercolor base medium, you would use like a StazOn, which is waterproof. But we were able to make this one work, and I didn't get any bleeding. I only have 24 Inktense, but I was able to get enough of a combo with that to give us a lot of shading as well as highlight. Normally you would use about 120 to 140 watercolor paper. 140 works the best, and I like to tape the edges to stop it from buckling. There's a hot press and a cold press. The cold press will have a lot more texture to it, and fibers will soak up more water, whereas your hot press is a lot more smooth and is great for detailed images. Now I'm taking my pencil to dry paper, and I'm establishing my shadow areas, any area that would not be getting direct sunlight. Those strands of hair that may be darker in places, that part that might go behind a particular curl or lock of hair, anything that's not getting a direct light source. Now it's important that you do not wet your paper before you use your pencil, unless you're going for a look of a very hard line that you cannot blend out. If you're going for that look, then fine. Otherwise, start with your paper being dry and just put those shadows in. And I'm applying my shadows to where I still have white space in between each, because the technique I'm going to be using will allow my lines to show, my strands of hair that are dark, even though this is watercolor. Normally a watercolor is more muted and doesn't have quite the same definition, but this technique will allow you to reserve the sharp lines. Now I'm using a little lighter one for kind of my mid-tone and blending into a highlight area, and that's called an outliner. And as I played with the pencils, I discovered it was a lighter color than the black. The black I'm using was ink black, and it was clearly my darkest color in my box of 24. So I'm using the outliner for basically for my mid-tone. And I'm going to use some of the color as it blends out for my highlight. Now I'm going back in and darkening my very darkest shadow. And you can see I'm still reserving the white. I'm having the pencil go in the direction of my strands of the hair. That will be really important with this technique. And then I'm adding a little bit of blue called Deep Indigo into the hair. And now I'm going to take, some people call it a rigger or a liner brush. It has a very fine line. And I have it wet. You might want to work off your paper so you avoid splatter. And I'm taking the wet liner and picking up color from my pencil. And now I'm going to be using the liner brush to do the rest of my blending. And as I do this, it turns that beautiful black color and sets it as a watercolor base. You could have, if you didn't want to do the type of hair that has a lot of strands and the highlights in between, you could have just blended out your colors on your paper and wet it. But I really wanted to do the technique with the lines this time. It becomes magic. The minute you put water to the Inktense, it causes bright colors to become extremely vibrant, and you have a beautiful richness to dark colors. So I hope you give this a try. Do be warned, once you have applied some water to the end of your pencil, do not sharpen your pencil until that water completely dries. Otherwise, it will just break your lead. Now, next week, I'm going to show you how to ground your image, and we're going to ground her on some large stones. I've applied some masking fluid to the shoes so they look a little dull right now. I put it right on top of the Copic coloring, and I've applied already some texture paste to give that rough, rocky appearance. So next week, come back and I'll show you how to add watercolor and show you how the rocks just pop up. If you like this, I hope you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you so much for coming.